Be ready for BYU Game Day. Download the KSL News Radio app to stream BYU games, plus breaking news during the week. That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Welcome back into Cougar Nation here on KSL News Radio, powered by KSL Sports. If you missed any part of our show, subscribe to the podcast. Just search Cougar Nation wherever you get your podcast or go on the KSL Sports app. We'll be holding this thing down, too, Monday nights during the BYU basketball season. So even though football might be nearing an end, we will be doing this, taking your phone calls during the BYU basketball season. Big week coming up for Cougar Hoops. Thursday night, they've got Ole Miss, number 23 Ole Miss, on Thursday down in San Diego. And then either Purdue or NC State on Friday in the multi-team event. So we'll start to learn some actual, data points, some real tangible opponents for Kevin Young's squad coming up this week. So huge week in BYU sports. We got Cougar Hoops on Thanksgiving, and then Saturday night BYU football comes on the airwaves. 6 o'clock extended pregame. BYU in Houston, 8:15 kick here on KSL and on ESPN. But now it's time for Trending Up and Trending Down.
Cougar Nation, trending. What's trending up and what's trending down this football season?
Let's start with the negatives. Let's just get the negatives out of the way. Let's get the negatives out of the way. Get the negatives out of the way, and then we can turn the page to something positive. Negative for me, I've already touched on this, but I need to repeat it. Jake Retzlaff's long ball accuracy is going in the wrong direction, Mitch. Sometimes, when you're reading off a Google sheet, things can go awry. Just like this BYU football season, it's gone awry a little bit.
You read off that play sheet, it can go awry. It can go sideways a little bit.
His long ball accuracy is going down, and I firmly believe if he hits on a couple of these in the last 2 weeks, they win those games. Everything that went wrong, if you just connect on some very obvious, open, deep ball passes, you win these games. Like, I fully believe if he hits JoJo Phillips with a minute to go and they take the lead, that they win that football game. Arizona State could not kick a field goal, and they could also not play up tempo. Like, Sam Levitt is a fine quarterback, but I wasn't that blown away by Sam Levitt in that game. I was completely blown away by Cam Scadaboo. I think he's the best running back in the conference. But Jake, you got to hit these. When these opportunities, they only open 2 or 3 times a game, Mitch. The quarterbacks that can hit those when they are there, they are the best quarterbacks in college football, and those teams win a lot of football games. And Jake and this offense, they have been missing on those explosive plays, and it's hurt them the past couple of weeks.
You know what gives me hope for Jake and this BYU offense? The leaps he made from last year to this year were significant. If he can make that sort of jump between now and next year at this time, could he be good enough to be an all Big 12 quarterback? Because you look at the league at large, potentially in 2025, and I know there's still a lot of football left to be played, but you're always kind of thinking of the future. Jake could be one of the, quarterbacks that's viewed as one of the top guys in the league. He'll get a lot of attention. We already know that the nation is, try to gobble up the BYU story quick, and then they spit it out as quick as possible. And this season's like, you lost Kansas. We're done with you. See you later, BYU. We'll take all the national interviews we can get. We'll use all that content we can, but then we'll be done with you the moment you lose a game. But still, I hope to see that sort of jump again from Jake. Still got a long way to go, and see what he becomes, because it was promising how much progress he made this season. Look, still football to be played, but you want to continue to see growth again. What's trending down for me is just the chance of a special season, because you start 9-0. I mean, those were some of the great teams in BYU history have started 9-0. 79 went undefeated in the regular season. 84 won a national title. 2001 they started 12-0. 2020 was one of the best teams in college football before a impromptu game on a moment's notice. That was the only way they lost, and that was by 2 yards. So that's a little bit discouraging to have that great of a start and to feel like you're falling you're stumbling to the finish line. and hopefully they can get this thing right this week. And BYU's the much better team against Houston. Houston, though, is interesting because they can't score a lick, but defensively they can, pitch some games where it's 16-10, and they've won those games, and they've beat some good teams. Kansas State, they took them down. TCU's been playing some good football this year. They took them down. So Houston is capable of springing an upset. That's just what the Big 12 is. Anyone can do that, but BYU's got to finish the job this week. Trending up for me, though, Keelan Marion. I thought Keelan Marion had a really good game last Saturday in Tempe, particularly on the jet sweeps. 5 carries, 30 yards, 2 touchdowns. Keelan Marion, a big factor in jet sweep action in this BYU offense.
Keelan's been nice. Trending up for me, I like BYU's depth on the defensive side of the football right now. Harrison Taggart goes out, and I thought that would have been a devastating blow. He's the leading tackler on the team. He is a weapon when it comes to run defense, and I do think they missed him a little bit in the first half, but I thought Miles Hall played well. He's someone who was not a liability, and I think we've seen that in previous years where if a certain somebody goes down, then it becomes a liability. That was not the case with Miles Hall. And then the safety room, too. Now, there was a really blown play in that second half that hurt BYU, and Micah Harper didn't look like he knew what he was doing when they gave up the 60-yard touchdown pass. But outside of that, I thought Talon Alfrey came in and made some plays in the fourth quarter. Ethan Slade has been seeing some time. Raider Mooney has taken a big step forward. So I like the depth of this defense.
I like that you bring up Miles Hall because he's in the same mold as Glasker, where he was a high school wide receiver, high school safety, moved up a little bit in the box at the tail end of his senior year at high school, at Skyline High School. Really good athlete. He's got a lot of speed. He'll be a good player for BYU. It's funny, too. He has a revolving number every single week. If you notice, against Kansas, he was 46. Against ASU, he was 31. He just has a revolving number because his initial number, I believe, is 2 other players have it, and he wasn't really factored much into kind of the conversation as far as being someone that contributes this year, and he was also on special teams, so they just kind of always give him a random number based on who's available and who's not. Kind of like a side note to highlight how he really wasn't in the plans, yet he's inserted into the lineup because you got Sione Moa banged up. He did suit up last week, but not full strength. And then Sialia Sarah banged up as well. So it's very thin at Mike linebacker, and he's basically your 4th-string guy and doing a nice job at that spot.
Let's get to some text, Mitch, and we can get to your calls as well. 801-575-8255 if you want to chime in on the BYU-Arizona State game and a potential rematch. One texter, I want to get your thoughts on this. When answering the question, do you want a rematch? We had a family that went to the Arizona game, and their fans were atrocious. Such foul mouths, foul drinking, foul behavior everywhere. They will never attend another game against Arizona State unless it is at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. They've never been treated so badly as a visiting guest. Texas and Notre Dame and all those teams were so much more accommodating. Arizona State should be ashamed of themselves.
I warned BYU fans at the hotel, the lobby at my hotel. There were a bunch of Arizona State fans. The hotel I was staying at was basically across the street from the stadium. And the day before the game, I saw some BYU fans. We were talking in the lobby. And these ASU fans joined a few beverages on that Friday night as well. Said some, not mean things, but just some smack talk to BYU fans. Not in the friendliest crowd. And I turned to the BYU fans. I said, this is going to be ugly for you guys. Just brace for the worst, because it feels like...
And it was at its worst.
Anytime BYU goes to these old Pac-12 venues, it ends up being some chant to BYU, USC, Oregon. You go up to Salt Lake. There was a cheerleader gets a water bottle thrown at her. This game, you saw the sideshow antics, the halftime speech being recorded. We saw the fans chanting to BYU section on the field. It was
pretty low class.
We couldn't air any of it on this show.
No.
And, I don't know why that is. Why out west do these schools just hate BYU?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I know that once upon a time Sports Illustrated said BYU, the most hated team in America, but why? Why are they still so hated? Like, if ASU rolls into Provo next week, if they did, hypothetically, They'd get the same treatment. They get the ice cream. They'd get the chance to go to the press box.
I would start a petition to withhold the ice cream after what we saw in Tempe.
But they don't. BYU takes the higher ground. Like, why do they hate BYU so bad? And then you go, well, it's just religion. Is that what it is?
It has to be. You can't.
There's no other reason to hate
You can't drop any other conclusion.
Like, why would you hate Kalani?
I don't know.
Why would you hate Jake Retzloff? I don't even know. Like, really, BYU's not a team that you can, like, oh, I hate them. It's not like Ohio State where they're just always winning, or Georgia, or Bama. Like, yeah, you hate them because they're always winning. BYU's just been this great story, and ASU's just like them. Great stories emerging out of nowhere. Why do you hate BYU? You haven't played in Tempe in 27 years. Before, like, 80% of those people that stormed the field were born. Like, why do you hate BYU? I don't get it. It just will never make sense to me why these schools, particularly out west, because I've gone to Stillwater. I've gone to Orlando. I don't know. Orlando might have had some stuff. But, like, the Midwest.
But not like this.
It's not happening.
This was pretty next level. We have seen and been a part of quite a few field stormings in our fandoms and our time as media members. This one felt different. There was a concerted effort to swarm the BYU players and coaches.
Yeah.
There was a player arrested right in front of us.
Fan was arrested.
Thank you. Yes, not a player. Sorry,
no
a fan.
players were arrested.
No players were. The BYU players, tip of the cap to them. They behaved themselves. It was
well after Chase Roberts' final play, which was ruled an incomplete. I don't know how, but the Arizona State fans stormed the field and circled him. I'm thinking, like this is gonna get ugly.
Yeah.
And look, Kalani was very kind in the post game and said, "I'm not mad at the fans. Like, they were excited for their team to get a breakthrough win, but it's just weird to me how it gets nasty." With BYU in these road venues out west. I don't get it.
I don't either. Here was what Kalani said about the storming of the field and these wild Arizona State fans.
I hate getting mad at the fans. I mean, they're so excited to get the win. It's two ranked teams that were playing. All we heard is that might be 1 second. And I'm going to cling on to as much hope as I can, and so it's okay. None of our guys are hurt, and so there was no big issue there, and they eventually cleared it, and we were able to get that one play. And so I understand the fans' excitement and energy, and it's okay. Nobody, I didn't think they were too rude to us. They're excited about their win.
Classy response from Kalani. Even Cam Scadaboo's mom went to social media and just spoke highly of Kalani. But yeah, it's just BYU, man. They go into these Western environments. Stanford, 2 years ago, they had the halftime performance where they were
mocking some religious stuff. Yeah,
I'll just never understand that. Cougar Nation's brought to you by Central Bank, voted best bank and mortgage in Utah Valley. Visit us online at cbutah.com.